I've applied for jobs, but I've not done 150 application plus in 24 hours. What was the driving force during those moments?
Yeah, I think for me it was just will I say I was struggling with kind of imposter syndrome. See, what happened was I had a startup I started with a friend in late 2017 into 2018 about bringing health records on chain. So we built a startup, we did an ICO, it didn't just pan out as we expected.
It makes a lot of sense now why you say success is 1,000 small repairs, because when you look at that journey from that failure of the startup, then your mentee is getting job and you're like, what's going on here? You understand? And going on to get the job, it makes a lot of sense. But when we really come to look at that point now, how does that mentality of success is a 1,000 small repairs really shape or translate to how you build products right now at Paycrest?
I think we are really mission driven at Paycrest. We'll tell you this is what we're building. Then like when I started Paycrest, my co-founder, we decided we are going to be in this for the next 10 years, right? And so our mission is like, we're thinking 5 years, 10 years, this is what we want to achieve, you see. So when you have the long mission or vision, then it's just about reinventing portions of that until you achieve your North Star.
For this episode, we're going to start from your intro story, like your origin story. Which is one of the most interesting that I found when we were doing your research was when you talked about sending 150 applications
in 24 hours.
That was in August. In 24 hours in August 2020.
2020.
In August 2020. And you made a famous quote, which I think is something that I wrote down in my sticker, my yellow sticker, that is just a numbers game. The truth is, I think I completely agree in terms of not just applying for jobs, but in terms of anything anybody's doing, it's always down to the numbers game. So it brings me to this question: that what was the driving force during those moments? To be honest, I've applied for jobs, but I've not done 150 application plus in 24 hours. To be honest.
Yeah, I think for me it was just I was struggling with kind of imposter syndrome. See, what happened was I had a startup I started with a friend in late 2017 into 2018 about bringing health records on chain. So we built a startup, we did an ICO, it didn't just pan out as we expected, right? And then you begin to ask yourself questions like, oh, maybe am I really as good as I think? What if, like, you understand, just keep questioning your skill and the likes. And then at the same time, that same time period, I had some mentees that were like getting hired, people I trained, like had remote job, because I'm basically a freelancer. I've been freelancing for projects at the time, but I hadn't really like worked a US remote job. I would have done Indian companies and stuff. So I was like, okay, I just got frustrated. I think that period I was just frustrated. I was like, okay, you know what? Let's do this. I said I'm going to apply as much as I could. And the job I really got was the one job I didn't want to apply for. Yes. Yeah.
Was it with Gitcoin?
Yeah, with Gitcoin. It was the job I felt I wasn't skilled enough for. You see, the same issue. I scrolled past it multiple times, came back because the job ad was for a blockchain engineer. And my understanding of a blockchain engineer was quite different from what a blockchain engineer was. Right from 2017, I've been writing smart contracts. I've built wallets platforms before 2020, but I didn't consider myself a blockchain engineer because I didn't build a blockchain. So my head was that blockchain engineers were people that developed like blockchains. That you have to really build your own blockchain. If you're talking about blockchain engineer, I was thinking Ethereum protocol developers that are building Ethereum or building Bitcoin. I didn't think about writing smart contracts or writing dApps as blockchain engineering. I figured I was just doing front-end stuff, but interacting with blockchain. So I just said, you know what, let me just apply. And I just applied and figured out I was a blockchain engineer. I didn't just know. I was a blockchain engineer for 3 years.
That's interesting. So, but why did you, because from what you said you got 2 interviews and one of them was Gitcoin. What was the decision to actually maybe pick Gitcoin over the 2 interviews and going over to work with them for about 3 years? Like, how was that? How did that decision actually play into some of the things you decided to do?
Okay, I think was it 2 interviews? I think 2 that sticks in my memory, but probably maybe 3, but I think it was 2, right? Because for Gitcoin is the one I got. Like I didn't really take anyone to heart. Like in the sense that the other interview was like with a German company. It was supposed to be like a relocation job. Like I would have been relocated to Hamburg. I remember I'd already watched a lot of YouTube videos about Hamburg. Imagine my life at Hamburg. Like it's like a coastal city. Like I think they have like a river, something like that. So seaport, like a port city, right? So I was already did my research. What's housing like? What's this? Like, you know when you say fee, imagination, that kind of stuff. So it was crazy. And then I spoke. And you know the way European interviews are. Some of them aren't really like technical interviews. They won't give you a technical test. They will just give you just experiential discussions and conversations. So I had to speak with. They had about 5 co-founders. I spoke with the first. I had to speak to 5 co-founders, bro.
Wow.
And then and after all that, I think they told me they couldn't work with me. I didn't get that job. So Gitcoin was the one I got basically. It wasn't Gitcoin at the time. I interviewed with Gitcoin, but like Gitcoin was a part of Consensus at the time. Consensus, yeah. So it's not like I got 2 jobs and then I chose and then I looked at it and looked at let me pick Gitcoin. No.
Yeah. Just was available.
It's not like there's no grand story to it.
Yeah. It makes a lot of sense.
But then going on to the part where you said stay with them for 3 years, I think we can explore that as the conversation goes. But basically, when I got in, I then realized, this is my dream job actually, right? It was the culture, it was open source, and I like to show the work I'm doing. I don't want to write code on GitHub and then it's a private repo for a long time, and then I start proving what did you really do. But up to date, everything I did on Gitcoin is public, so I can always just point people to my GitHub or my PR rules. So I think I love that fact.
One of the things you just revealed initial part was when you talked about how the ICU failed, and then started doubting yourself. It kind of like connects back to one of the statements that I know you've made a couple of times, where you said success is 1,000 small repairs. And so it makes a lot of sense now why you're saying success is 1,000 small repairs, because when you look at that journey from that failure of the startup, then your mentees getting job and you're like, what's going on here? You understand? And then going on to get the job, it makes a lot of sense. But when we really come to look at that point now, how does that mentality of success is 1,000 small repairs really shape, or not mentality now, philosophy maybe, translates to how you build products right now at Paycrest?
I think we are really mission driven at Paycrest. We are really mission driven. We'll tell you this is what we're building. And like when I started Paycrest, my co-founder, we decided we are going to be in this for the next 10 years, right? And so our mission is like, we're thinking 5 years, 10 years is what we want to achieve. You see, so when you have the long mission or vision, then it's just about reinventing portions of that until you achieve your North Star.
Vision.
You get what I'm saying? So the way that has affected my own life, I enjoy process a lot. Like, so some persons just are about the outcome, but I'm a process person. I like to enjoy the process. I remember I used to say, like, some people be like, I'm going through my tough moments. Life is really hard for me now. And I'm like, you have to enjoy your tough moments. Like, who else is going to go through it? Like, don't rush it, because there's something happening when you're going through tough times. You're actually building character, you're building endurance, you're building strength. So if someone helps you prematurely and you go through that quickly, you don't get to develop that character. You don't get to learn those lessons. You see? So I like to, if I'm crying, I cry well, I enjoy my cry. So if I'm happy, I rejoice well, I enjoy my rejoicing. It's just you have your North Star. So the way we build at Paycrest is really about that. We can build a product. We have a lot of internal things we've developed, but we never even speak about them. Some we bring out, some we don't, but it's just tweaking until you figure out what sticks and you go on.
Some people call that being a perfectionist, don't you think?
I'm a perfectionist, but I'm learning not to be. When I met my co-founder, that was one thing. That's one area we actually had a lot of ruffle around, because he's a very pragmatic person. I'm an idealist, right? I can just say, we're doing this, and it's like, bro, get this out first now, and then we'll figure it out on the way. Sometimes I'm doing my 1,000 small repairs without even showing. Again, I'm just enjoying the process.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, get your head, get this out. Let's do this. I would improve it on the way. Yeah. So I agree.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's being a perfectionist.
That makes a lot of sense. Just being curious, when you just talked about you are in that moment where you're doing your 1,000 small repairs, it's kind of like a loop. You don't know how much you spent doing that 1,000 small repairs.
Yeah.
Whereas you could be building in public and maybe even get traction. But what drives the perfectionist who? What's the mentality that kind of drives that perfectionist or someone like you who sees maybe the problem that he needs to repair 1,000 times, to get the success, and where others already sees a working system, like your co-founder who's pragmatic in the sense where he says this is already good enough to at least ship out for your MVP one, that kind of thing. Let us push the button. What's the difference between those kind of mindsets, to be honest?
I think the difference is just you would always have people on both ends. You just have to collaborate. So I pull him to the idealism, he pulls me to the pragmatism, and it makes a good collaboration, you see. Yeah, so and that's why we have Paycrest and we have NoBlocks, you see. So yeah, so I think it's just about working together, recognizing, okay, this is where my bias is coming in and this is where I need to chill. And if someone says this is good enough, you should push it out and then improve. And I think building in public has helped us do that, because a lot of our code on Paycrest are open source, right? They're public. So all my mistakes are open on GitHub, all that stuff. Yeah. So I think that's fair game. It's
many people now
more pragmatic.
Yeah, many people now, sorry about that, they kind of think that open source projects are not more or less old school for Web3. I've been seeing a couple of tweets. Yeah, they're like, I don't know why they think that way. There's this kind of narrative against open source products and open source projects. From just talking with you, you've re-emphasized the idea that open source is the way. Is it necessarily based on the feedback that you get from the public, or there's something else about being an open source product? Because not many products are open source in Web3. But is there something else about being an open source product that makes all the difference, in your opinion?
Yeah. When you say no, I think not many projects are closed source in Web3. That's what I would say.
That's what I want to say.
Yeah, are closed source, because a lot of projects are open source in Web3, right? Ethereum is open source, Bitcoin is open source. The fundamental of every protocol, base layer 2 is open source. At least, I mean, every blockchain, you know, that's a public blockchain is open source. I think that I wrote a tweet recently that spoke about I think on the tweet I said, if your protocol isn't open source, if your protocol isn't open source, it's not decentralized. It's just opaque, right? Yeah. Because I said so because decentralized systems shouldn't ask for trust or something like that. Yeah. So because if you say you're building a decentralized system, it means you're saying, don't trust me, verify. It means everything is going to be public. And the way you can show that starts with how people interact with your code. It has to be public. They need to see what's going on. And the whole Web3 is about ownership. It's about ownership. It's about trustlessness.
Exactly.
It's about collaborating with people in this huge collective intelligence kind of space, right? So you can't say you're closed source and then you tell me, when you're close to us, you're basically saying I should trust you, because then that's a black box. Yeah. And that goes against the very ethos of decentralization. That's how I think
I agree with you on that. Bringing it back to the entire idea of being a perfectionist. I think there's more to that story, because from my understanding, you've been writing code for a long time, and you didn't know that you were a software blockchain engineer. For 3 years. The truth is, you've not just been building features, in my opinion. You're someone who's been working on how systems work and building things that really tick the box. But what is it about another of your philosophy that I find very interesting, better ways, better systems, that drives you to build solutions that work rather than solutions that are fascinating or just fashionable?
Yeah, I think in networks. That's how my brain naturally
network
works.
Effect, you mean?
Yeah, not say network. If I just say in like coordinating, how do I explain that? I think in networks, in the sense that if something isn't working, I want to get to what is the coordination flow? Like, how do people interact, and how can we rearrange that to ensure it's more efficient. You get what I'm saying? So if I
makes
get
sense.
to, so I used to try this. If I get into a bank, for example, I look at the whole banking flow. Okay, the person opens the door, this happens, and isn't this door here the reason why people are going into this bank slower, right? So if you can rearrange the coordination in the space, probably you have faster, people will go in and leave faster. So that's just how my brain works, generally speaking. So that affects, when I say better ways, better systems, it's just, you might not really do anything too different. It's just, how can you rearrange the parties because everything in humanity is a coordination problem a lot of times, right? And Gitcoin really reinforced that for a long time. It's just a matter of, it's coordination. If this is not working, how can we coordinate better to ensure this system works? So better ways, better systems is just saying, like, look at your coordination. How are you coordinating? And and Paycrest isn't something, we use primitives that exist. It's just about a more efficient protocol to coordinate parties, right? And even my former startup, the same thing. It was still about how can we coordinate. So I've always worked in multi-tenant systems. How can you coordinate people more efficiently? I remember a project I did was it in 2011 or so, for my university. I built a hostel application system, and that was because I registered for a hostel and I needed to check into my hostel. The whole process of hostel registration and checking in was so stressful, long queues. And I said, if we can just rearrange this thing,
make it smooth.
It'll be easy for everybody. And I built an app around that in Java, I remember. And how it will search for your room, available room online. It's not online, on desktop app that searches for room spaces. You can print out your hostel card immediately and you just check into your room. It's simple stuff, right? And so I feel the problem first, it gets in my head. I innovate ways to tweak that, better coordinate the multiple parties, and that works.
First point on that is, I think that's pretty much how ideation works generally. Second point is the entire emphasis on coordination. It brings me back to one of the tweets I think I saw that you made about NoBlocks, on how you and the team ensured that between the time somebody registers to the point they
get their value.
It was in a very short period of time. And you found a way to abstract many of the redundant user experience processes, and then to make the entire UI flow faster, UX flow faster within a shorter period of time. Like, so while you're talking about it, I was like, you see, I remember this tweet. He put this tweet out. I remember this tweet. It makes more sense now. But for the university thingy, is it the one you built for when you invested? Is it the one you mentioned about SMS leak?
I did payment integration way back. That's SMS leak was 20, went live 2014, and that's 11 years ago. And I remember integrating VoguePay, right? And VoguePay back in the day, there was industry, there was VoguePay. And so now we have Paystack, we have Flutterwave, we have stablecoins. But then VoguePay was the
chief.
You were chilling with the big boys. So and people could pay with their card, purchase SMS, bulk SMS units, they could get SMS. That was different. The hostel one never really got deployed. I was supposed to present that to my university registrar to like adopt it in the school, but then my laptop had this crashed at the time. I hadn't known about GitHub at the time.
Wow.
In 2011, 2012. I had a GitHub account. I can't remember when I had that, but I hadn't been using GitHub at 2011, 2012.
Wow.
So everything was in my laptop, had this written in Java. I was already preparing to like present it. My friends were ready to like ensure we push this out and write a proposal for the school, but I had this crashed. And since then, I immediately learned about GitHub.
That can be a painful experience. But walk me through that's your journey from the application that crashed to SMS leak to now building a global payment infrastructure with NoBlocks.
I think that from 2011, 2012, the laptop crashed. I basically formatted it, had out not a new laptop, but a new hard disk. I just basically got on working. That I was writing standalone applications at the time with Java, just desktop applications. And I didn't really write for web. I think it was in 2013. If you don't mind, told me about PHP. So I kind of built a university project for someone, a final year student. A final year student needed to do a counseling web app. He was a computer science student, so I was paid to do his project.
Yeah.
But then since I'm not mentioning his name, so that's fair. I did a lot of people's projects. I had to write the code, and then that was with PHP. I remember being paid 5,000 naira for that project, or we being paid 5,000. We split it to five.
We.
Yeah,
How many people built it?
And I was just excited because I was using it to learn PHP, right? And then I learned PHP, but then I'm also someone that likes to tinker with new technologies. I like to use new stuff, shiny stack, like when I mean shiny stack, like I like to be at the edge of innovation. Like what's new, I need to be there. So I was in PHP at the time. A lot of websites, WordPress, Joomla, CMS, were on PHP. So your website had a high chance of being hacked just because you were using PHP. So I then discovered Python. I discovered Django, Python Django in 2014 or 2015, and I just stuck with that. So PHP was my introduction to web. Python was then my introduction to like using Python to write code, and then you get hacking attacks. Didn't know Python so much for web. It was PHP was more, and so I had inbuilt security, just not using PHP. But for SMS Leak, the journey was from that to SMS Leak. SMS Leak, I built SMS Leak with Joomla, like a content management system. It wasn't like raw. I didn't write from scratch. Something similar to WordPress, but I used Joomla. And post that, I learned Django, did a lot of freelance projects with that. Then went on to a lot of freelance project. It's a long journey. It's not just like from SMS Leak to Paycrest. There's a lot in between.
Yeah, there's also the ICU one and everything.
Yeah, and there's been projects for people, wallet platforms and all those kind of things for different projects.
So what is NoBlocks then?
NoBlocks.
And how does it differ from Paycrest?
Oh, that's a direct question. Okay. Paycrest is a decentralized payment routing protocol, right? It's for basically stablecoin to fiat and fiat to stablecoin exchanges, right? Best way to think about Paycrest would be, now you want to, like, let's say if you're familiar with the way global money moves globally, a huge portion of USD flows happen via Swift.
Swift, yeah.
Yes, and Swift is a financial messaging protocol. It just basically coordinates payment orders across banking institutions. So Paycrest is like, and Swift takes like 2 to 5 business days. Paycrest is building a payment routing protocol, given we have blockchain now, we have stable coins now. So coordination between parties of cross-border payments could be more efficient, right? So we built a protocol, a payment routing protocol around that. And instead of payments taking 2 days to 3 days or 5 working days, it could run round the clock and it could be in seconds, right? As opposed to days. So what that now meant is, as a protocol, we needed to build a use case on top of that to show the potential of what this could be. So we built NoBlocks. So NoBlocks was actually like a result of a hackathon win. We participated in Base On-Chain Summer Buterin in last year around July. And we were among the winners in the payment track. It was Zap, called Zap, Z-A-P.
Interesting. So it's been rebranded.
Yeah, so Zap by Paycrest. We did Zap by Paycrest that allowed people send stablecoins from their MetaMask directly to their bank. And I did a demo and posted it on Twitter. It went viral because people were saying, yo, how did you move money from MetaMask to the bank account in seconds, right? And so we're among the winners of that hackathon. And then we decided, you know what, this could be a product on its own. And then we rebranded that because I got wind that we may have trademark issues, which people later found out. So we just left Zap and rebranded to NoBlocks. NoBlocks. And so NoBlocks is better now because it has gasless transactions. It's really easy to use. So NoBlocks is basically an interface built on Paycrest protocol that allows people create payment orders, right? In this case, the payment orders you'll be creating is stablecoin to fiat, right? And soon we'll be having the other way around on ramps here. So that's
that's true. There's a project I am currently working with. So I'm not gonna mention names. They're doing something very similar to what Swift is doing, but then they're using what they call on-chain clearing houses.
Nice.
But I think from explanation, it looks also very similar because their idea is that they also want to facilitate settlements like instant settlement, like in seconds as well. So as soon as you mentioned this, I was like, this is incredible tech. But the interesting part is for NoBlocks now. NoBlocks pretty much works with the Paycrest infrastructure, right? That's the main.
Yeah, basically, yes.
So which means is very different from existing P2P
On
or
and off ramps, exactly.
yeah. So it's in that case it's quite different from let's say use Asa or onboard. Like what's
Exactly,
the
yeah.
difference in that kind of, is it just the infra that makes it different, or there are other use cases?
I think fundamentally is the infra, in the sense that the way NoBlocks works, if you're thinking about use Asa, you're thinking about onboard, they have to sort of, onboard is I won't use is non-custodial also, because they also have these like P2P options where you can have liquidity from P2P guys.
Yeah.
But it's not open. Like I would always say, when I think decentralization, I think open, right? And I think automated. Yeah, but then you use Asa, it's of course more closed in liquidity management. So what's unique about NoBlocks is the way liquidity is managed through Paycrest protocol. In Paycrest, we don't have liquidity. We don't touch fiat. We don't touch stable coins, right? You just create a payment order on NoBlocks, and it routes your payment order to a liquidity provider on the Paycrest network. These providers are running like what we call our provision nodes. They have their fiat in their bank account. It's not with us, it's in their bank account. So Paycrest coordinates that interaction with their node in seconds. It happens quickly. So it sends a request, their node accepts the request, and they fulfill the payment order and get the stablecoin in return. All these things happen in like sometimes 8 seconds, sometimes 5 seconds, sometimes 10 seconds. So fundamentally, NoBlocks is decentralized and open, right? As opposed to the other off-ramp systems. That what this allows NoBlocks be or do is that it can scale upward. It can scale upward, right? So you can basically have more currencies quicker. You can also have more, you can scale up when it comes to liquidity available. There is no, till today, I don't think there's any off-ramp or stablecoin provider that would easily just allow you, even if you have all the compliance in check, you won't even be able to, like, say you want to send 100K in one go. You can't do that. The reason you can't, again, is a coordination problem, right? Because again, I said, even if you have all the checks, the compliance checks and details, you can't still do that technically, but rather you have to trust OTC desks, where you go to WhatsApp, and when you go to WhatsApp, you're leaving the safe zones because you're dealing with
human elements.
So you're sacrificing decentralization and security and trust again. So we are solving that fundamental issue at Paycrest, and NoBlocks will just enjoy those benefits. Not just NoBlocks, every other app built on the Paycrest protocol.
Yeah, I was going towards that. Like, so what are the inquisitive part of my brain is just racing. I'm thinking about, okay, if Paycrest is that kind of infra that allows NoBlocks function in this interesting way, what are the other use cases that can really thrive using Paycrest?
Yeah, I'll just talk with some of the businesses we've onboarded, because we're running our pilot program. We've been in beta, running a pilot program with businesses. I'll tell you use cases I've seen. I've seen people use basically for on and off ramps. I've seen people use Paycrest for supply chain management. Recently, a company supply chain. I've seen someone use Paycrest for card, surprisingly, physical card. Yeah, so we've seen that. We've seen people use Paycrest for which other use cases? Payroll. So I think just around, we have use cases section. We have like for remittance, cross-border payments, for card infrastructure. You can use it for credits, right?
Wow.
Where you can all those kind of quick loans kind of thing. And as we build out Paycrest more and more, there's a lot of use cases we haven't unlocked yet, but we're seeing the possibilities more and more, and it keeps driving us to really build this out. Yeah.
I think there's a lot more questions to ask around Paycrest, because I like the idea, because I used to ask myself, like, what's not the difference between the NoBlocks and the Paycrest? Like, how do they differ? Like, so it makes a lot of sense. Like, so now I see why NoBlocks can really thrive in that instant settlement. So it's not just of its own self, it's because Paycrest really powers that possibilities here. It makes a lot of. How many validators do you currently have running the nodes on Paycrest?
We wouldn't call them validators, we just call them providers. But
providers,
we have maybe around, I don't know, we are still in beta, but I think for we can have, let's say we have about 10. It's running those provision nodes, about 10, but they're for different like regions. And we sometimes as a company, we could bootstrap in a new region until we have more providers. But I think when we publicly launch, let's say in hopefully this quarter, or I don't know, but when we like feel comfortable to like maybe perfectionist again. That kicks in. But when we eventually go public, when I mean go public, when we announce our official launch and go out of beta, I think we'll be able to like officially like make an like call out to people that want to run our nodes in different countries or regions. Yeah, and then that would really make us go faster. We aim to be in 100 to support 100 countries by the end of this year. So I think that would be
ambitious. I like that.
That will allow people run nodes in any of those 100 countries to provide liquidity for their space.
I think it's interesting. I think 100 countries is very ambitious, and I think I like that idea. But I personally do not know how those providers, like you call them, work running the nodes. But I know that for them to actually come on the Paycrest network, there's going to be like certain set of incentive, like for them to want to utilize or run their nodes on the Paycrest. So how does that part really work, to be honest?
Oh, there's no incentive. There's an incentive, but not like we're paying them. It's the incentive is more like when you come on Paycrest protocol and you run a node, you get to set your rates. So you're profiting off the spread, right? So if I'm providing Kenyan shillings liquidity, for example, that's $1 to 128 Kenyan shillings. If you can set the spread to say, oh, if market rate is 127, I'm gonna do this at 126, or if it's 128, I'll do 1. So you're profiting off your spread. So you're basically your boss, right? So yeah, so that's how it works. So you get payment orders, you fulfill. You're controlling your business because you're the one setting your rates. But what we do on our end, or the protocol, the aggregator, ensures it's efficiently like keeps caps on those rates you can set. So the spread isn't so much that is stupid. It has to be within reasonable limits. Yeah. And so we do those checks and balances. Yeah. So if you want to run a node, of course, all the compliance stuff we have to go through to ensure you're able to run that node. We do all that, then you run it. So usually typical providers would be around financial institutions, banks could be liquidity providers, and all those guys. So once you sign up, but that's for now. That's our current stage. In the future, Paycrest is actually a permissionless payments routing protocol. Permissionless would mean the way you think about Ethereum today is very like if I insult Vitalik Buterin on Twitter, I could immediately send Ethereum to my friend while insulting him. Like he can do nothing about that because Ethereum is decentralized. See, so I don't need to agree with him to basically use Ethereum.
The Ethereum network,
permissionless, So the way we're building Paycrest is permissionless and open. I think this is one unique thing that every other person isn't doing. The fact that we're building a permissionless routing protocol in the sense that without Paycrest as a company existing,
setting those caps and limits on those kind of
existing, we should still be able to coordinate this. Like the protocol should work without me, without Paycrest company. So that's our future to get to full decentralization. So it's a roadmap. We started with a federated model and we're getting there.
That's really interesting. But let's walk a bit back towards something you mentioned that caught my attention when you said, let's say for example, Kenya shillings, you said like let's say 1852 and I said like 1857. Doesn't that mechanism create a bidding system?
Yeah,
like
it does.
A bidding war.
It does. So depends. We have like, of course, there's this component of Paycrest protocol called an aggregator, right? And an aggregator basically coordinates the whole routing and deciding who gets what and penalization if you're not highly available as a node and all that stuff. So the aggregator ensures that it also distributes or routes based on the routes, your availability. Yeah, exactly. So in our beta, I think we're taking a more practical or fair approach where every liquidity provider gets a fair share of payments orders. But as the network grows, it's going to be best rates. It could be best rate. Someone could rewrite that gate and say, you know what, let's use the best rate stuff. So you all fight for the best rate. Yeah, but for now, you need to make your providers happy. So we're not doing the best rate thing for now yet.
Man, it's impressive, to be honest. Particularly the plan to move from a federated system to permissionless. Again, that's rebuilding the system. That same narrative of rebuilding system and 1,000 repairs, like it plays around a lot through the story we are having right now. That's quite interesting. So is it that I know from a newbie perspective that it's going to be Herculean. in terms of the tax.
Yeah, sure.
Is it something that you're already planning towards or anticipating? Because if you said launch is in a couple of months or this quarter, I'm already thinking that, okay, maybe that might be something that's already coming up in conversations internally.
Okay, so are you asking like about the decentralized permissionless part?
Yeah, the plans towards that. Like,
Okay,
what's the
yeah.
plan
Okay, yeah.
towards
The plan
moving
towards
in
that.
migration? Yeah.
Yeah, true. The plans towards that would basically it's not like that's not what is delaying the launch. The launch
okay.
isn't about like. But when I mean launch, I mean public launch. Of course, people reach out to us. They use Paycrest. We just have to like get it. You have to be approved for early access. Yeah, but
Okay.
I think when we say launch for this year, we're saying the federated model, right? What the difference? What I have to ask you is the difference between the current Paycrest and the fully permissionless Paycrest is just a matter of currently Paycrest runs the only aggregator, right? So we were running the only aggregator currently, and then the fully permissionless network would mean anyone can run an aggregator. When I mean anyone, of course, there's a profile for an aggregator, can run an aggregator, and anyone can run a provision node, and it's just going to be one unified node. So instead of saying an aggregator node, a provision node, it's going to be a Paycrest node. And then there are some components we need to build into that. For example, KYC, compliance. There has to be on-chain, decentralized way to do some of the compliance things we do as a company. We have to bake that into decentralized protocols. So once that happens, then I think we are closer to the path for full decentralization. Because again, if you're building something like Swift on-chain, there has to be compliance baked in, and so I think that's what's missing. And again, when we are thinking about that, it needs to be easy to use, and I think that's the hardest
coordination
part. Yeah, it has to
coordination.
It has to be easy. Like, do you know how many things we want to build in, and we're like, because we know the profile of liquidity providers, and we're like, these guys are finance guys. They don't care about Ethereum, don't care about Base, they don't care about your blockchain. They just have money and they want to fulfill payment orders. So they care about compliance and they care about money. That's all they care about. They don't care about your infrastructure or that. So when we want to build some things into our provision nodes or providers, we're like, oh, this would make it hard for them to understand. Remove it. So I think that's the biggest challenge for us.
Is there plans for account abstraction in all of these systems you're building?
Yeah, Paycrest, everything is account abstracted already. If you go to NoBlocks today, like Paycrest protocol itself, when we settle orders, when the aggregator settles orders, fulfills payment orders, creates orders on chain, everything is gasless. And we built this thing before even we had SDKs for account abstraction. Like, this was 2 years ago. I'm serious. I built this stuff was written like 2023, right? And we didn't even have like we wrote our aggregator in Golang, and at the time there was up till now there's no Golang SDK for EIP 4337, right? And we were supposed to write the Golang SDK for it, but like, you know, I don't have the time to do this. I just want to build it. So we had to write a lot of stuff.
You should write the SDK though. Many people are going to find it very helpful.
Yeah.
But it makes a lot of sense because when you explain it, I was like, this feels like a account abstraction. Like, you're really trying to simplify the entire process. Yeah, you really need it. Yeah, you really.
We did that.
What from your experience building Paycrest and NoBlocks, previously Zap by Paycrest, but now NoBlocks by Paycrest. What's been the hardest part of your journey so far, like up until now?
Man, I think at the time it was hiring, right? It was getting the right, because you have really limited resource. Right, we have basically, when I mean resource, money, basically, like really no money. You're working, you're bootstrapping from savings, and everyone that wants to work with you, they want to like really charge, get paid, and people don't really believe in work for equity these days. So rightly so. So that was one thing we had challenge with, and we had a lot of people thinking, you know, remote work is changing a bit. We have some persons, I know developers may punish me for this, but it's a fact if we're being sincere. There's a lot of persons now that just like they place a value on themselves even when they don't have the skill, in the sense that they just say, yo, I should be earning this, right? I am this. So there's more branding than actual outcome, right? So we struggled a lot with hiring because you get somebody on, they're not getting what you want, you lay off, and then valid, we didn't have the money to get the top senior. So I think that's one hiring. Another part of what we are building is the fast changing space. Oh, there's a lot of noise, right? A lot of noise. So you just want to build what you're building. So it makes us reinforce our mission internally, because some people would ask, yo, this team launched this. How does this relate with what we are doing? Oh, this team launched this. How does it relate? This team launched that. So you have to always reinforce your mission, your vision, your outcomes, what you're looking for, and this is what you're chasing. It doesn't matter the noise or what others are doing. You have to just stay locked in on what you want to achieve. When you achieve what you want to achieve, and you realize you could have done something else, then that's fair, but you did what you wanted to do first. You see what I'm saying? I think that's another struggle, is just drowning all that noise and focusing on the mission. And I think we've been doing that solid, yeah. And remote work is actually very hard. When I was working when I had a job or freelancer as a developer, when someone tells me, yo, can you come to this city, I'll say no. I like to work remotely. I loved it. I'm like, this is the future of work. But when I started running a startup, bro, remote work is hard. Sometimes, we had a team on site last month, end of last month, where everyone flew in, came to a particular place, and just we built for 1 week. And we could tell the energy. If I needed to get something, then I just go to you. And we used to make this joke where we'll be like, if this was remote, I would have told you, oh, are you available to speak? You'd be like, oh, can you block a time in my calendar? Oh, let's see. How would tomorrow be? Would it work? Bro, send this thing done. What do you mean tomorrow? So I think if I could get all my team in one city, one house, it would move faster. That's what I think. Now I don't like remote work that much. But when I was just an employee and all, I like remote work.
Wow. So if you mentioned hiring as one of the major problems, how are you able to fix it, to be honest? How are you? What are the steps that you had to take to be able to fix that pain point for the business?
It's simple. I don't waste people's time. Don't waste my time. You come in, there's clear maybe a probationary period, or you try your hand. If it's not working, I tell you it's not working, and you're out, right? I'm okay with the fact that you have to, while building your dream team, you have to hire, fire. You're gonna have that circle, and then if you get 10 people on, 3 persons could stick and the rest go. Next person comes, 2 extra persons could stick and the rest go. Right. And as long as they know that this is how it's going to be until we get the dream team. Once that settles in, so I think we are very close to that. If not there already, we have solid hands that really believe in what we are building, and we're growing this together, right? And that shows in the way Paycrest internally works. I remember when we did our family and friends round, of investment, we had about 3 team members as investors too. You see, these guys, they weren't paid at the time, right? Okay, maybe one, but they weren't really paid, and they put in their money to invest in the start, and that was a good flag for us that this is working.
It's a good signal, actually.
Yeah, it's a good signal. Yeah,
that's rare. That's very rare, to be honest. I don't hear it often. With startups. That's interesting. I think I agree with the idea of hiring, firing until you build that dream team. A couple of them stays, the other leaves, and you just keep going. Although it can be a very stressful process.
Man, you have no idea.
Thinking about it. It can be a stressful process, but again, it makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about one of the stories that I saw your picture with Vitalik. Although when you said you can insert Vitalik and use Ethereum, I was like, bro.
No, I mean, allegedly.
But I remember seeing the media. You're on a panel with him and talking to a couple of people about empowering 1 billion users with Paycrest and the entire idea of what you're doing. What were some of the key takeaways you took from those moments for your perspective to where we're currently or your viewpoint for blockchain and Web3 as a whole?
Yeah, I think it was I was sitting with Vitalik. Vitalik was there in the room. He was at the front looking at me. Then he had the panel. I don't think we sat together. But either way, the event was, I think, Ethereum Frontiers Africa. That was last year. Was it last year? Also, yeah, I think last year. That was Ethereum Frontiers Africa. I remember that was the first time core Ethereum developers were coming to Africa, right? And this was made possible by, shout out to Joseph, right, of Magma and Borderless Africa, right? he really organized Ethereum Frontiers Africa and pulled just imagine pulling in like over 15 core Ethereum protocol devs. These guys for their first time in Africa, yeah, and they came here. Right, we're all at Kenya, and one thing it showed me was that these guys were they're incredibly smart people. But then, let me speak for myself. I wasn't too far off. Do you get what I'm saying? I could see that sometimes you can make these guys like gods in the sense. And then, but sitting there and having conversation, we had dinner sessions where I had to speak, and I realized that if these guys are building Ethereum, it means I can also build something like, even if it's on Ethereum or whatever, that I can also build something global. Like we could converse, like not like I'm just taking notes and you're talking to me. I have something to contribute, and so much so, right? So it just lets me know that you can build anything, and we don't have to see what we just lack in Africa isn't talent or genius. We just maybe lack access to some resources, lower capitalization. Well, those are, again, it's your process. Embrace it and enjoy it, right? So, that event made me see that we can actually contribute at a global scale, and we can do it very well, right? Even like despite the challenges we were facing, And so for empowering a lot of people like that, you have an active role to play as an African builder. You don't have a passive role. You're not just waiting for a new protocol to come on and you wear their t-shirts and you just wear their t-shirt and attend events. Shots fired. But basically you can actually contribute to those same protocols. Either you're building yours or you're contributing to those same protocols. So so I don't just say I want to write, you can contribute to the core stuff. Yeah, so I think we are we are shifting towards being active contributors as opposed to just a testing ground where the protocols just come and use us for marketing, you know what I mean?
It makes a lot of sense. It's a lot to take in. Those shots you fired were a couple of rounds.
What kind of gun? Was it AK-47 or pump action?
Like it looks like that. It looks like AK-47. But I completely agree with the sense that we're not so far from Africa. And we can actually do great things as well. We really can do great things. The entire idea that we can also become active participant and contribute actively, as opposed to being passive and just having the glamour of media and whatnot. I think it's something that really resonates with me like very deeply, and I think I'm quite excited that you're sharing it. Okay. And if anybody's watching here, it's pretty much how you should think about contributing to Web3. Like, what are you doing outside from attending events and being matched? What are you doing to solve problems within the ecosystem that you really believe in, or ecosystems that you really believe in? So it's, I mean, it really, I had to let it sink in again. Like, this is really how to think about it. But from a product perspective, like you leave that event thinking of like we're gonna like Paycrest like had a huge opportunity to actually do great things?
Yeah, we did. I had to speak to like really important people in the space, and they were really excited. I remember meeting a team that was building an Ethereum execution client, and we had a conversation for a while about them giving us core execution layer support for Paycrest, and that was really interesting because they actually saw potential in this thing being core to their execution clients on Ethereum. Yeah, so I think that's important. That's not just them. I can mention some names, but we've spoken to like global players on core engineering stuff, right? On core. Now this is not just, oh, I like you, I need your money. No, like actual core. Let's see your architecture. Let's see through this.
Together,
and they're always like
very open.
And open to, okay, this is really, I think that's one takeaway too from there on a product perspective. It's further validated what we're doing. Yeah, it made me learn a lot too. I learned a lot, like some new technologies. I didn't know about EIP 7702 then when they were building the whole Petra upgrade, and it was one guy on Ethereum that was talking about his execution client and Paycrest stuff that I mentioned. They're working on this upgrade, and I had to read through the EIP and the like. So connection, just good.
This is a really incredible story. I mean, one I think if anybody who's like taking time to listen to our conversation and our chit chat up until this point, I think if I'm listening to it, one of the things I'm going to take away is the constant desire to keep building and keep improving and doing something very, very interesting. One of the questions we always ask everybody that comes to the podcast is this question I'm going to ask you: that if you could give yourself or the YouTube version of yourself an advice on building good systems, like right off the bat? Now, this is a very important question because the show is optimized for founders and founders who are starting to build. And systems are a very, very key thing when you're building a product. But if you could give yourself, your YouTube's version of yourself, advice on building good systems, what advice would that be?
Little version of myself. Maybe it's better to say it's giving
a youthful version of yourself.
Yeah, useful. Yeah, I would rather. I'm still a youth. What do you mean, bro? Useful. But like, I won't give it to founders. Because when it comes to advising myself, I know I told them process person, so I hardly have regrets. I practically have zero regrets. So when people tell me, advise your little self, I'm like, I'll just tell you, keep on living, keep on living, keep on living. That's what I'll tell myself. But for founders, other founders that are starting out and still in this hustle, we are all starting out, or I'm starting out. So, but basically, I'll tell you, focus on the things you can control and do them very well, right? Especially if you're building from Africa, there's context you have that no one in the world has. I'm telling you. There's some people will be like, oh, we have a lot of problems in Africa, but that's your context. We have, you know, when you're prompting AI like ChatGPT, the outcome depends on the context you provide. Yeah, right? Always. For LLMs. So the same thing in Africa, we have instead of seeing it as, oh, we don't have this, that's context. And there's a certain perspective it gives you to building products that nobody in the Western world would ever have. I'm telling you, they wouldn't have it. They can't have it until they come and live in Africa. It's as simple as that. So that's your advantage, right? Your advantage is your struggle, your context that you have, right? There's a reason M-Pesa works in Kenya and Momo hasn't taken off in Nigeria. You see, there's a reason mobile money works in Kenya. There's a reason why banking would work in Nigeria until tomorrow mobile money is not working, right? There's context to everything you're building. So just think deeply into that, focus on what you can control, leverage your context and build. Yes. It's
been an incredible time having you on the podcast.
Thank you,
I'm really excited. Hopefully we can have you back another time. Talk more when you've launched. I'm really looking forward to it because NoBlocks is one of the products I use. I use NoBlocks a lot. I use Asa a lot. I onboard a lot. I like testing these things and utilizing them and as much as possible.
I use onboard too.
Use onboard too, yeah.
Yeah, of course. I think I use Asa. I've deposited, but I've not really used it much.
Okay.
Yeah, because people have experience preferences, but I know I've used onboard virtual card, and use Asa is really also great. I think there's enough space in Africa
for everyone to grow.
Yeah, we are too small. Do you get my point? We have the world to take. Everyone should build. Some people will be like, oh, I want to use Asa. Some people will be like, oh, I want to build a WhatsApp bot. And people will tell you yo, why are you building this? Use Asa. I mean, what do you mean? Build yours.
Do what you do.
Some will be like, we are building Paycrest, so don't build yours. What do you mean? Build yours. Anyone will win. Yeah. Just build. Keep building.
True. Yeah. Completely agree. I mean, I use Asa is very, very key for me because remittance is very important if you're in the UK and you have to send money back home. Previously, I was using Lemfi, and then when users came on board, I'm serious. I rarely go to Lemfi. And,
amazing.
I'm always on WhatsApp.
And it's faster.
Quick. Very quick and
better rates.
Exactly, that's on that point. So that's before normal other transactions. Use NoBlocks, use onboard global for the cards as well.
Virtual card,
yeah. So it's been an incredible experience. I'm not gonna lie, and I'm really excited looking forward to having Yele on board as well on the podcast soon.
Wait, sorry, you said something. Say you're looking forward to having Yele on board.
Yeah,
you get it.
It's so exciting, and thank you so much for your time. Thank you. For anybody who doesn't know about you, add links to your social profiles on Twitter, links to Paycrest and NoBlocks, and then please guys check it out. Utilize the product as much as you can. I'm personally excited to at least have spoken to you for this amount of time. It's been a very insightful conversation, and I'm really, 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 really excited. Hopefully we get to a point where maybe you can start integrating the new Nigerian stablecoin. I think it's the CNGN or something like that.
We have that. We support CNGN already. We have that already on NoBlocks. Of course, you can use CNGN on Base, on BNB and Polygon. Yeah.
I know about Base and BNB. I didn't know about Polygon.
I think they're on Polygon, so we support them on those three networks. And we have building on Paycrest for CNGN ramps, and so we support CNGN.
I'm checking
So
it right
if
after this.
you're integrating CNG into your app, you should reach out to me.
Yeah, you should definitely reach out. Like this is incredible. I mean, thank you so much. Thank you so much.